G'day, guys. Another Sunday. Oh, shit. Just noticed. Forgot to brush my hair. Anyway, doesn't matter. We'll just go on. This is how scruffy I look when I get up out of bed. I've been running around trying to sort out bloody things one after another. So, yeah. Then I have to go and pick up something, and I've got also a hose to get because the outlet on the washing machine is, remember last time I had the inlets that exploded. Now it's the outlet that's actually leaking. Oh, God, never ending. So I was mopping this morning. So I got up late. Then I'm starting to mop. Exactly. Tell me about it. Anyway, enough of my troubles. Running around like a goose with my head cut off. And yeah, entertaining day. So what's bloody new in my world? It's always a mess. My hair's growing again. You can see, wasn't too long before I had a haircut last time. And yeah, probably need another haircut next month. Bugger. Anyway, let's move on. Blinky's pissed off about his daylight saving things. Well, you Western Australians, and get with the program. Join the 21st century. Non-daylight savings is an agrarian thing. For the farmers to get up early and all that. You got automatic tractors now, and you've got trucks that are actually remotely driven in Perth via satellite. I mean, you don't have to get up early. What's your problem? God, I mean, you Westies, anachronistic, backward. What else could I say? Yes, he is bloody early, isn't he? He's annoyed. We know that. And we love that he's annoyed. Don't we? G'day, mate. It's gonna be after you're tired. I've got to pick up things, and I have to go to Dad's, and so it's yes. I'm gonna have to be a bit more disciplined today. It's I'm not gonna have to control myself. Look, what I said, that probably she was, when you actually are continually urinating. I mean, when you're hydrating yourself with fat, and you are getting sufficient nutrients in and all that, I don't, my level of, let's say, pissing or urinating has actually gone down quite a bit from my old days. So, I mean, I will probably urinate in the morning sometimes. Sometimes I don't. I just walk into work, and later on I'll urinate. And then basically after that, it could be hours after. So it's really, you get an upregulation of your antidiuretic hormones. And I mean, your piss doesn't actually get any dark or anything like that. That's nonsense. If you take a look at basically animals, when they piss in nature, their piss is quite yellow, sometimes quite yellow. So we overhydrate. And remember, water is high in deuterium anyway. You should be hydrating with fat, not with water. We hydrate far too much. And it's still winter at the moment. So, you hydrate to thirst. And in summer, when you do hydrate, you're outside getting the UV, which is basically depleting that deuterium anyway. So it's a non-issue. But I suspect she was basically already insulin resistant. She hadn't resolved that with some, strategic fasting and strategic high-fat eating. She was doing this sort of strange, high-protein sort of thing. And she's not even a bodybuilder. And so on that, Stephanie was right. She needed to up the fat. And I've been saying that for ages. I'm like a broken record about women requiring far more fat. So, she sort of resolved a lot of those issues. I'm not sure whether she's actually picked on my comments about the MTHFR issue and riboflavin. whether she's done anything about that, and anything else. I'm just trying to help her, as a fellow carnivore. I'm not, in any way being critical or anything like that. But I think that she was probably already coming into the carnivore diet slightly insulin resistant. And by, not giving herself, doing the typical thing that most carnivores do, they go to a supermarket and eat lean meat. That's rabbit starvation. Two things happen. One, you get higher glucose levels continuously because you're not getting enough energy. So the body needs to get it from somewhere. So what does it do? It does more gluconeogenesis, which is demand-driven because you're not giving it enough fat. One thing. It's not basically supply-driven, it's demand-driven. You're creating it because you're not providing enough energy in terms of fat. Then on the other hand, because they're actually pushing up all these growth pathways, they're potentially slightly maintaining that insulin sort of resistant sort of state, you still need to deplete deuterium. And so, your thirst goes up, and she was very thirsty, and so does urination. As a consequence, once you hydrate with fat and you bring the fat into the game, it usually eliminates that problem quite a bit in that regard. Strategic fasts can help as well. This is where I disagree with Stephanie. Strategic fasts can help as well to, break that cycle of insulin resistance. So that's another aspect. And sometimes people can have some damaged level of mitochondrial function, so you may need some level of fasting, some level of basically looking at certain nutraceuticals that can support the redox potential, things like niacin and other things like that. Riboflavin, very important, especially because she's got an MTHFR issue like me. So there's a number of things that she's neglected. Other people also get a lot of diarrhea. Again, that's rabbit starvation, lack of, salt and fat, so it's recurring themes. I mean, she's on a better path now, which is good to hear. In that regard, but now everybody sort of jumped on this crazy, sort of deficiency about minerals and stuff like that. If you're on a carbohydrate diet, that becomes an issue. And it becomes an issue because, our soils are depleted of a lot of nutrients. They're piss poor, basically. And a lot of the RDIs and a lot of the actual information online is old information. Information goes back. I mean, some of the information was updated in the 70s. Some of the information is still old information from the 40s, 50s, and 60s. So it's a mix. It's a crazy sort of assortment of information that is old and new. Not very new. We're talking about 70s, 80s, some recent stuff, measurements that were taken on, especially with some of the new foods or new food combinations, stuff like that. A lot of that happened later on, as far as the databases that actually hold the sort of nutritional values. So you sometimes can look at something and then look at something else, which is a similar product, and you can see substantially difference, and you go, okay, that's a more modern variety of that food compared to that, and that's why that actually is an older one, and this is one which is probably more credible because it's more recent and it's got information about the level, and you can see dramatic reductions in the percentages of the different minerals or vitamins or whatever, and that's a factor, But a lot of people then sort of arp up and then say, "Let me sell you a supplement." Where with animal foods, that's less of a case, especially if you're eating pastured animals. Their organ meats in particular are very dense in minerals and vitamins and a whole lot of other elements that are important to us. So, I mean, if you look at let me just put it this way: just the TCA cycle Every single stage in the TCA cycle requires, B vitamins, especially in particular B3 and B2, and also a lot of the amino acids. A number of the essential amino acids are required in all those sort of pathways where you're actually cleaving off. There's 4 key points that are cleaving off NADH, which are cleaving off hydrogen. I've explained this before about these enzymatic pathways, both in lipolysis and glycolysis and lipolysis, and also the TCA. So at the end of the day, you need to have certain nutrients, and the nutrients are going to be in the animal foods. They're not going to be in the plant foods. And a number of these people now that have I won't mention the person, who I'm talking about, that talks about these minerals and all that, they tend to be pushing supplements, where I would be pushing organ meats to people, if they were deficient. And if they were not deficient, then I would say, what is your excretion rate? Get the right food combinations that are animal-based, and you won't have these problems. And the same thing goes for her as well, and many others. Up your salt. Very important. Just up the damn salt. I need to do that video as well. Probably going to try and get it in next week about the importance of salt in bone and muscle, sort of, the importance for those tissues. So I'll try and get that in as well. I'm doing all these, short things. They're quick and dirty, because before I was basically doing all these post-production stuff and all that. And basically it became impossible to do work. Between my work, my personal life and everything else, it just became impossible. So I'd be taping a video, and then it would take me a couple of weeks before I even posted it, because I'd have to go through all this. I've stopped doing that. You've probably noticed why I've been producing a bit more content. I'm just using Zoom. And I know there's a bit of audio issues, a few issues and all that. I don't give a shit. Because if you want content, that's the only way I can get it out to you. I have a day job, and sometimes I have to work extra hours and stuff like that, and it's impossible for me to create content otherwise. So I'm using this approach. I hope you enjoy it, because it's going to be much easier for me to put content. It will vary between weeks. Now, next week, I'm not going to put as much content. It'll probably be 1 or 2 videos. I need to go back and look at people's emails. They're already 2 weeks behind. I haven't answered them because I haven't had time. When I come back in the evening, I have a meal, and then basically after that, I basically just produce something and post it the next morning, and I'm off to work. So, it's just my circumstances. Maybe when I retire in 6 years' time, it'll be a bit of a different story. But then I may be enjoying the sun far too much. We'll see. Anyway, let's move on. Oh well, that's the benefit of daylight savings. When we go an hour ahead, it's just for our North American friends, just to have an idea about what the times are in different parts of Australia. So some states do not use daylight savings. So Western Australia is one of them, where Blinky is from, and so now they used to be 2 hours behind. They're 3 hours behind now. So it's just shit happens. The southern states, the southeast, are pretty much very different. Yes, you don't need to see the next comment. You know what I said. Anyway. Someplace it is. G'day, Cynthia. And Lambs is getting into his basically, this was invented to mess up people. Daily rhythms. Oh, well, that helps the tourism industry and the service sector. That's what it really was for. Because the non-daylight savings is really the agricultural sector. Because you don't want the hour to go ahead, because you have to get up in greater darkness early in the morning. So it's, it's all this sort of, yeah, they complain. Yep, I know. But Australia is highly urbanised now, especially in the southeast and the south. And most farmers have got used to it now. Source of income for tech companies. Got to stop business software database, the big companies back in the days when automatic switches wasn't implemented yet. Yep. Comment. Oops. Just lost my spot. Thank you, StreamYard. Your tinnitus videos was interesting. I picked up taurine and B3 some time ago. Hope it works for my high-pitched beat. I hope it does as well. As I said, there was 68% in that one study, and the other one, there seemed to be much higher with the taurine. Taurine is well known to actually have certain benefits in that regard. So it's just one of those things. Actually, I did actually write some bloody notes down, didn't I? I actually had some bloody notes because I had a text file that I actually created. It's part of a thing that I just haven't got around doing it, a video that I want to do about taurine. It's basically, let me just, where was it? There was a point there that was about, yeah. There's actually a bit of evidence like on epilepsy as well. So I actually showed the other study that actually had, what was it? It was headaches and migraines and stuff like that. There's also some research on epilepsy as well. So it's not only the ketogenic diet, but even high, like 5 grams of taurine seems to help. It's very neuroprotective. So it actually is really good for the excitatory side, when you've got exciting. So it's good for the heart because you don't want too much excitatory activity in the heart or the brain. And taurine tends to modulate that down into the safe zone. So it's really neuroprotective and heart protective. I use it for heart purposes, as you guys know, with my heart condition and all that. And I think it should be mandatory for athletes because it actually prevents remodeling of the heart, which is really important. So you don't get an enlargement of the left ventricular, which is what kills most sort of Olympic or long distance runners. So I think they should be on 5 grams minimum while they're doing that. And for the rest of us, when we get over over 50, I would say move to 2 grams, over 65, 3 grams for life. So because it really drops off after that, and it's very important for all sorts of functions. And I will do a video in particular for taurine going through. The list is endless and long. Let's put it that way. I mean, I've talked a bit about the bodybuilding side, about as an amino transporter and a few other things, and some of the antioxidant behavior without actually undermining ROS, which is important to build muscle, unlike the other antioxidants. So there's a number of benefits that I'll just turn that off. It sort of strengthens the muscle cells, and it actually also improves their longevity. That means increases their longevity. So you actually prevent the muscle cell from becoming senescent, damaged. It actually slows that down, because when you're actually exercising, you're actually damaging a lot of muscle. So taurine does that as well. So for bodybuilders, they should be taking it. Athletes should be generally taking it. I don't know why it's not being taken when there's so vast studies actually showing the importance of it. I mean, for me, I think even though I did all the other stuff, the health stuff, I think the high dose taurine actually is what really cleared up my heart. All the scarring tissue and all that, removed it and cleared it, where I've got zero scarring tissue. I think taurine played a big role in that. I can't prove it, but I think it did, because it has these it really just shuts down or pushes, suppresses certain pathways, inflammatory pathways that damage the heart. It really just knocks them for 6. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm convinced that taurine is really valuable. And I think as we biosynthesize less of it as we get older, we really need to get in the diet. or supplementation or whatever. It's probably another reason why those vegans are falling apart, both musculoskeletal sort of falling apart. Anyway, g'day, Mandy. You're still up. God. Oh, that's right. Daylight savings probably allows you to. Yes, that helps. G'day, Deborah. Good to see you. I did notice you've sent me an email as well. I will get to it. Sorry. It's just trying to get a bit of content out and stuff like that. Other people nagging me in my life doesn't help. G'day, Shell. Good to see you. After, yeah. Oh, you consider this. Oh, okay. Thank you. I consider myself scruffy. Mate, good to see you. That T1's been giving you a lot of stick. God, he's coming up with all sorts of strange and evil experiments that he wants to do on you. Awful. Blinky. Thank you. Something along those lines. G'day, Kitty. Good to see you. I did recently up my fat lately. I'm having better poos. I'm eating more ribs. Yeah. Look, it's a lot of people, are just too lean, and then they go, oh, I'm getting, rabbit starvation. Well, that's what it is, really. I mean, Stefansson knew that if you didn't eat enough fat, you ended up basically shitting yourself like mad, diarrhea. So not a good thing. So it's really important that we get enough. And at the same time, also, we get enough salt in there as well. Very important. So way more important than the other electrolytes because they are kept up in that regard. Actually, I did find one thing, and this is from these Australian medical practitioners, Geelong Medical Health Group, and they look at. I'll just share that for a while. It's not to scare people. I mean, it's like the comment that I made about, potassium and cancer. If you don't have cancer, it's not an issue. But if you do have cancer, cancer is really helped along with not high sodium, but high potassium. So, so it's probably something that you want to get. You want to have the amount, the replacement amount, and no more under those sort of circumstances as a hack for those purposes. But there's a lot of mythology when it comes to potassium. So signs that you're getting too much potassium. So tingling sensations. Wonderful. Potassium is essential for proper nerves, but too much mineral can cause them to malfunction. And if you're getting tingling sensations, it could be consuming too much potassium or supplementing too much. As I said, get it from the diet. Nobody's supplemented in the past. If you're eating a species-appropriate diet, if you take a look, we're getting more than enough, more than we secrete. So let's get over it in that regard. Muscle weakness or paralysis, because potassium as an electrolyte, excessive amounts of it can keep the muscles from properly contracting. In fact, the muscles may become weak or sometimes paralyzed. What makes such outcomes very dangerous is the fact that your respiratory system can be affected as well. Not a good thing. Breathing difficulties, the diaphragm in the muscle that allows lungs to expand and relax, thus causing the air to rush in and out. When too much potassium is in your body, affects the diaphragm and may experience breathing difficulties, or worst case, you may fail to breathe at all. We know what happens after that. Abnormal heart rhythms. Does it feel like your heart is beating irregular? You know, I've actually had this from too much potassium, and I realized my mistake, and I upped my sodium, and it stopped, and it just went back to proper beats, not these funny out of whack beats. One of the usual cause of such excess amounts of potassium in the body is left uncontrolled. It may have a cardiac arrest effect. Rush to the emergency room if irregular heart rate is accompanied by dizziness and shortness of breath. So, you know, I mean, people need to understand that there is a physiological range, and then there's a non-physiological range. The problem is that through the TCA cycle, and this is really important to understand, the Krebs cycle, the citric cycle, whatever you want to call it. When you consume carbohydrates, your requirements is for cofactors of magnesium and potassium go up. This is why the RDIs keep on going up, because people are eating more shit. That is why we're continually going up. It's not because, do you think humans out there that were actually eating animal foods in the wild, no supermarkets around, were looking for potassium supplements? Let's get real. No. What were they basically focused mainly on? Electrolytes from the blood of animals or water, especially in creek beds, which were slightly sweeter, which meant they had those like flake type salts, and also along the sea line. People didn't live in inlands. When you actually look at archaeological evidence, people followed rivers, and they followed basically, around the coasts. So even early humans around the world, that's where most of the activity was. In interior land, where that came after with civilization, when we had the capacity to basically store things and do a whole lot of other things, create irrigation and change things around. But most early civilization, if you look at early maps of civilization where people are actually living, is very coastal, very along rivers. And then it spreads out from there, because you've got the capacity. You've built surpluses, you've built the capacity to basically venture further inland and explore and exploit. So these are very important things to understand. Anyway, let's move on. More about poo. Yes. Apparently birds love that sort of stuff thrown at them, I hear. That's what T1 told me. But he's a naughty, naughty, naughty boy. Daylight saving started soon. Here, very short days, long darkness. Days autumn. Yogi channel took off. I passed a comment early days and forgot that she existed, but now videos she's doing great. Look, she's doing better. I think that now she's up to fat and all that, she's doing much better. And it's basically, she was basically starving her body. Your body is going to use two things. It's either going to use sugar or it's going to use fat. If you combine the two, that's a Randall cycle, and you're going to get very sick. But, sugar is not the most optimal. It will age you faster. It will dehydrate you more and has a lot of other deleterious effects. But will you survive a famine with sugar if you don't have fat? Yes, you will. And I mean, we know from the Second World War, when Ansel Keys was doing all the experiments in Minnesota, food experiments, and actually reduced the amount of other, when he restored, even though he kept protein relatively further down, when we restored the sugar, the body no longer ate itself, no longer catabolized its own muscle. So, but still, created high insulin and all that sort of stuff. But the other advantage of feeding people that are starving sugar is that you push up insulin so much, you don't need to feed them as many electrolytes. So you don't need them to provide them a lot of the other stuff, because they hold everything in. So it's so retentive. Insulin has that effect. So that's the dark side, long term, that it creates a lot of other problems. But short term, yes, it can be very important for survival. Was used in the Second World War, after the war, feeding people. So anyway, but I've discussed it before. It's nothing new anyway to you guys. Fasting did a world of wonder for me. Look, exactly. I did fasting as well, and that helped, I believe, with my heart and many other things. So the importance is when you come out of a fast that you get enough calories, enough protein, enough fat. And the thing is, she was basically coming out and basically hitting the lean protein again, and sort of it's just, yeah, it was causing a lot of problems for her. But anyway, it's good that she's sorted herself out. I don't agree entirely with Steph about some of the nonsense about never fasting and that it's bad for you and all that. I think that's nonsense. But I don't believe in chronic fasting anyway. There are times when you say, okay, I'm going to ignore my reproductive system. I want to do it to basically reset my system because I'm very highly insulin resistant. And there it does have a practical effect. You're not reproducing because you're insulin resistant anyway. So what's the point? Let's just fix the underlying insulin resistance. And basically then you can go back to, a more time-restricted feeding and stuff like that I do. So you still getting the autophagy. You're getting the autophagy from exercise. You're getting the autophagy for some time-restricted feeding. And you do the occasional fast here and there. I mean, I do probably 1 or 2 a year now, long, sort of like 4-day fasts. But generally speaking, I just do time-restricted feeding. But when I do feed, I make sure that I get all my aminos that I need and all the fats, my energy that I require. So I'm not depriving myself in any way. Anyway, let's move on. I think way less now than I salt my water, but did notice me cheating on diet lately. I made me much thirsty. Exactly. Yeah. Sugar makes you thirsty. As I said, dehydrates you. So it's the deuterium thing, which I've explained before, about 0.44. So you lose 0.56 that you have to put back, 56% loss, where with fat, you put 10% in. Wonderful. Which actually allows you to even get rid of, more deuterium-based water, and, your body will tend to upregulate its antidiuretic hormones. Tribal people did not. They had a bit of moisture here and there. They had drunk a bit of blood. Basically, most people never really drank water that much in that regard. Overhydration, you don't see it in animals either. They piss yellow piss. Overhydration is not a good thing. It's high in deuterium, and also it's not a good thing in that regard. But if you're eating carbohydrates, which no animal really, other than us that created civilization and went on a high carb binge for the last 10,000 years, or well, slightly less, but anyway, you know what I mean. Most other animals will get it from grass. The ruminants, then their little organisms that are inside them will actually convert it to something that they will grow, and they will be consumed by the acidic stomach. And all animals, I mean, whether it's even a gorilla has got a big cecum, puts all that fiber in there, creates massive bacterial load, and actually extracts. And at the end of the day, it's still extracting short-chain fatty acids, still extracting certain aminos, but they're being extracted by the bacteria, in that big cecum, which now is an appendix in us. So it's useless. We can't extract. And, so really these are the sort of underlying issues that that we need to remember. Fat hydrates, sugar dehydrates. That's the critical thing. Now, in summer, the rate of dehydration will depend on your activity and whether you're in the sun. And if you're in the sun and you're being physically active, you will need water. There's no two bits about it. You will follow the thirst of your body. You'll add some salt because you do have a lot of salt loss, massive salt loss, and you can actually create electrolyte imbalances. So you need to put salt in there at the same time. where usually in winter I do not salt really my water that much, hardly ever. You know, I may put a bit, but it's, you know, I usually just heavily salt my steaks and heavily salt my foods. And I love actually getting feta cheese that is highly salted and stuff like that. So usually I get it in a dry form, so I don't get the deuterium of the water. So I get the sodium without requiring. And most of my hydration, a lot of it comes from coffees or raw milk or fat. Anyway, let's move on. Glitchy, super annoying. Cuts out keywords through. Oh, well, you know, shit happens. You're getting it for free. Get over it. Build a bridge. Anyway. We appreciate any video you put up. Please don't put yourself out. Nah, look, you know, this is a new sort of approach that I've actually found to basically be able to put a bit more content. Thanks for caring, Shell. It's primarily my focus is trying to. There's a lot of things that people are struggling with, and I just need to get slowly that information, push that information out. And so sometimes some videos can take a while, so I've put them on the back burner, not because I want to, but because it's just the time limitation. You understand what I mean? So things that are easy to do, I'm actually doing it. So I'm getting through all the real easy stuff, you could say, that I don't need to go through, you know, difficult protocols. Where to do a hard protocol, I've discussed about, you know, there's a lot of nuancing, you know, so I would have to do something like an hour's video, go through a whole lot of things and explain things in detail and explain why I did certain things at a certain point and all that, because I don't want people to get the wrong information. I would rather not give people information than give them the wrong information. Then they go down and do something because I don't have the time. I'm time constrained. So my sort of approach is, okay, these are quick and dirty, easy. Let's just get this stuff out because it's a backlog. It's easy to get out. It doesn't take much time, 15 to 25 minutes. That's easy. You know, some of the, you know, just Googling and finding an image and then putting some text and all that, probably another 10 to 15 minutes. So more all up about an hour at night and then post it and it's gone at the most. And that's the sort of focus, the way I'm sort of at the moment. And, you know, it's just, and I'm not even going through the studies and all that. I'm just looking at the abstract and all that, but I'm pinning every study so people can individually who want to actually read the same stuff that I've read, they can go and take a look. So it's there. I'm not hiding anything. So I'm providing the information so people have got access to the links. But at the same time, it is easy to put stuff out like that, which is helping me put more stuff out. So that's basically it. Anyway, we will move on. You're pumping out videos lately. Yes. Must be those extra hydrogens. Oh, no, don't do this. Damn. I'm glad you do, John. Harry, isn't vitamin E a bit hard to get on carnivore unless you eat lots of fish? You don't actually need as much. See, this is the funny thing. On a carbohydrate diet, because you've got more advanced glycation in products you're creating more reactivity, even at the mitochondrial level, like through complex 1, you're still basically increasing the level of basically reactive oxygen species that you're generating. It's far more you know, reactive. It actually the actual, it energizes that electron chain far more. It actually has this far more higher sort of stress level on the electron chain as well. So as a consequence, you will create more things that could potentially cause issues. So on a high carbohydrate diet, vitamin C and vitamin E do go up, their requirements. But on a carnivore diet or keto diet or stuff like that, they don't. Because you've got one other advantage, glutathione. Glutathione with high insulin is suppressed. With glutathione, when in a low insulin environment, glutathione goes up. It's a beautiful electron donor. So all those different tocophorals and tocopherols that are in there, those little like squiggly things that actually are just electron doning to the different lipids. So as they do that, they get recycled because of basically, if you're eating things like organ meats, you'll get alipoic acid, so that'll recycle. Your own endogenous, you'll actually increase super oxide dismutase and other potent, antioxidant pathway. You'll also increase glutathione, because insulin is lower, glucagon is higher. So it actually pushes up slightly. And as a consequence, what happens is your system is able to recycle better and you need less in the diet. I actually only recommend, if you're coming off a SAD diet and you've got a lot of free fatty acid that's actually stored in your adipose tissue and your fat cells, that is a lot of seed oil based. So it's damaged PUFA. When that gets released, that will create a lot of reactivity and all that. And that's why I've said use a low dose vitamin E based, a palm oil based, like the Jarrow one, which is a complex, which is a proper food complex of vitamin E, and that will basically mitigate that. But you have to do it for 4 to 6 years, as you're coming off from a SAD diet, and that's the only time. So don't get too stressed about it, mate, So the other fat-soluble vitamins are far more important for regulating different parts of the body. Anyway, g'day, Tom. Good to see you. Hey, Harry. I just got banned from Frank's channel. Okay. Yeah, he can be live streaming about Paul Saladino plagiarizing. Okay. He's still on that, is he? Those Italian boys are constantly at each other. That's all I can say. Yeah, well, what can you say? Yeah, I mean, he actually even came on mine and left a comment. I just ignored him. He left a comment with somebody else pointed out that it was Frank, and he actually left a comment on, I can't remember which one, to make a big issue. And I'm actually going to make a video about that because he's trying to say, oh, you need copper supplement. You really can't get copper from organ meats, some bullshit thing and all that. And I'm going, what a load of garbage. What an absolute load of garbage. There is a specific type of thing. I'm not even going to mention what it is because I want to do it, a video of it this week, which comes out of the pancreas, that basically is very important for, minerals getting in. So I will cover that and, just expose the absolute bullshit. That's just because they just want to sell supplements. Fuckwits, they just dodgy as dog shit, both of them. They're always pushing the other one's pushing sort of fructose and crap like that, which just gives me the absolute shits. Actually had that bloody thing that I didn't want to actually show. I might as well, what is this doing? Come on. Stop being a pain in the ass. Okay, I'll just share this for a sec. I'll take mine there so you can actually see it. This is basically from baseline. These people were basically put on for a couple of weeks. I think it was about 8 weeks, and they were put on a high. They were supplemented. There's a randomized control. They had on a standard diet, and they just said you either basically consume a fructose. Nobody knew they were getting the fructose or the glucose sort of supplement. And as you can see, the fructose group, think honey. Both of them are into the honey. And subcutaneous fat didn't actually really grow in the fructose group, but visceral fat, bloody hell, that grew. Look at glucose. Glucose did not increase visceral fat because glucose doesn't. Now, glucose can make you fat, so subcutaneous fat. So sometimes you see those Russian ladies that basically eat a lot of spuds and a lot of potatoes and stuff like that, meat and potatoes, they become big mamas, they can actually, you see them sometimes in Siberia. They're actually they're literally big logs they're moving around, you know. Or I remember seeing one, she had it on her shoulder. Fucking hell. Exactly. You know, and you know, a lot of the Russians, because I know I've got Russian friends and stuff like that, and Polish friends. My Polish mate, he's married to a Russian, and she basically a lot of spuds, in the stuff that she cooks for her family, but there's no fructose or none of that sort of stuff. And so, yes, you will get a bit more if you eat too much glucose, yes, and you don't use it as energy and all that. You will actually build more, fat, but the subcutaneous fat, which isn't that dangerous. It's not healthy. We're not talking about it's ultra healthy. No, but it's not as dangerous as visceral fat. And the only thing that drives visceral fat is basically fructose. There's nothing else that drives it to the same level. Now, if you're basically engaging the Randall cycle, that means at a very high level. So your glucagon to insulin ratio is quite high. I mean, obviously, even we're not talking about the high levels you get from a sort of a McDonald's sort of all-you-can-eat shit diet, which can push it up to 70. We're talking about, something about in the sort of 40s, 45 or whatever. Those will basically drive, some level of conversion of glucose back to fructose and to be stored as fat. So you can go, if you have excess, you can actually force up the level of fructose production in your liver. So it'll actually convert more glucose back into fructose to store, then to convert it into fat and then store it away, both as fat droplets in the organs or fat in the viscera. So yeah, that can happen, but it usually, you really have to push the envelope on that front. If you're basically just having steak and eggs and potatoes, yes, you will be engaging the Randall cycle. If you're not doing enough exercise, you will be pushing up the insulin to glucose sort of ratio slightly higher. Remember, 1.3 for a pure steak, 4 for a potato. And depending on the combination of potato and meat and stuff like that, it could be anywhere from 10 to 20 odd in terms of that ratio. It's not up to the junk food level of 70 or 50 or 70 and all that, but it will make you fat in that regard. You will be engaging the Randall cycle at a much lower gradient, and it will actually cause that adiposity to happen in that regard. But the reality is, glucose within tolerable levels is safe. It's best to get it from your own body. That's what we've done through thousands and thousands of years of evolution before we hit agriculture. But it's far less toxic to the body, unless it gets beyond the 50% of your diet. That's when it starts really becoming toxic. But below that, because that's when it also pushes up the conversion back to fructose. So that's when it becomes an issue. But up to 30%, maybe up to 40% if you're an athlete. Yeah, but at the same time, it's high deuterium. So you're still going to be aging your cells and you're going to be damaging your mitochondria faster. So yes, it's not as toxic, but yes, there are other deleterious long-term effects. Do you want to be an old man with less mitochondria and really struggling to get around? Think about those things. You got to think about it. When you're young, you don't, but when you get older, like I'm 54, I definitely do. Believe me. Anyway, let's move on. Okay, because I said you got your ideas from Stefansson, yeah, exactly, and Western Price. So did I. And this is the thing, because basically I acknowledge that, and this is the problem with these guys. They don't acknowledge, that they got it from, anybody can actually surf the PubMed. Nobody has ownership over these. If anybody has some level of, intellectual rights, it's the authors, the original authors. None of us. All we are is basically researchers. We go away, we look at the research and find out, and then we deliver it in different ways, in different nuanced ways, because we've got our individual you could say, either biases or basically way that we view the data, or the way we actually present the data, or what we focus on, or what we emphasize, or what we notice that others don't. So all that sort of stuff. Yeah, look, they're just childish. They are absolutely childish. They won't admit to their mistakes. I've admitted on this channel and on Bart's channel on a number of things that I slipped up, that I had some hypotheses, and I was wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. We're human. We get more research, more science. That's how science progresses. We learn more and we correct ourselves. But these guys, they literally, it's like trench warfare. It's religion to them. It's not basically science-based. When you're science-based, you go, this doesn't, it's like, for instance, Salad Boy's gone down the PUFA pathway, and so he's decided, he will basically manipulate and find anything, and uses rat studies, uses observational studies, which he would criticize otherwise. He would criticize others for doing that, and then he goes around and does exactly the same thing to basically make his point. And then at the end, even recently, he says, I can't prove that PUFA. Yeah, we know you can't prove it. Because if there is one thing that PUFA may be affecting in terms of seed oils, I would agree, it's not basically due to the fat itself, the PUFA itself, or the polyunsaturated fats. It's the damaged polyunsaturated fats and the effects that it's having to the cells, and also the effects that it's having at the mitochondrial level because of the high deuterium. These are processed in factories, and they have double the deuterium levels that even sugar has. And so they are very damaging to the mitochondria. And so they will really zap your energy and cause all sorts of problems. And if you can't have enough utilization of energy, you downregulate the receptors, GLUT4, CD36, which is the CD36, just in case you don't know, is bringing in fats, long chain fats, and then basically GLUT4 is bringing in vitamin C and glucose. So they get down-regulated, and you get insulin resistance at the cells. That's because the mitochondria have been damaged by too much inappropriate things, and so they can't utilize as much energy as before. So there are so many, it's a complex picture, and these guys try to, because they've got a barrier, they want to push a supplement, they want to, it's all this sort of bullshit, which doesn't help you guys. It's best to understand what is happening in those in a simplistic way, in a basic way to be explained, that you guys can then say, okay, I need to eliminate this, this, and this. I need to make these adjustments to have better outcomes long-term for myself, my family, whatever. That's important. With real foods, how can I make these adjustments and balances? I'm not selling you a supplement, never will. I don't believe in them. I believe in using them for deficient people as a short-term thing. But even there, I think that you can eat a lot of organ meats, go really hard on organ meats, and you can supplement yourself that way much better. And also the actual basic chemistry, the electron bonds, and I'm starting to give away too much, but that's that video that I'm going to make, is basically the way things are bound are in such a way that with your own body's sort of transcription factors that are actually created, the other proteins that your body creates, they can bind to it and take it in. Where when you bind these things in an unnatural way with some supplements, that's why they give you massive amounts of supplement overdose, because they know most of it will end up in pooped out. Some of it may get through. That's the whole idea. It's just crap. You're paying for crap, and it's expensive crap. Just get some organ meats. They're cheap as. Nobody wants to eat them. Best way to get a multivitamin. And they are, their ionic state is really, the way the body actually knows how to use it. Let's put it that way. Yep. G'day, mate. Good to see you. Definitely. He came back in time. He went forward in time, got it from Frankie, and then went back. Yes, we know. There was a time machine involved. And an alien. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Western A Price was a cargo shell. Yeah. Yes. Very funny. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Tom, for the laughs. It's just crazy. On rotations, organ. How much each week? Sweetbreads. How to you mean rotating? Using. Look. I know from my ancestors, they preferred actually kokoretsi, which I've shown on, how they make it, where they cut all the organs and then they put them on a skewer, and then they wrap the actual intestinal tract around. So you go up and down, and then you wrap it around, and then you cook it over coal. And, probably people would have mixed organs, which will be like giblets in the chicken sort of variety. Probably about, they used to back in the 70s when I was there doing my high school. God, let me just think. Would have been probably 3 times a week. And like liver itself on itself, it would be probably as a snack, because they actually made this like really thin wafer, not wafer thin, but really thin types. They used to cut the liver in these circular things, and they would put it on the skewer and cook it, and it would actually become really nice and crunchy, a bit overcooked. Yeah, okay, you lose probably about half of the nutrition. But if you're eating organ meats every day, it doesn't really matter, And they would the way they do them is they put rosemary in olive oil or butter. Depends where you are. If you're in the mountainous areas, they'll use butter. If you're in the lowlands, they'll use olive oil because it's cheaper and it's easier and all that. And they will basically then put it on the skewer and cook it. And the flavor of the rosemary goes into the actual liver and changes the whole flavor of it. Man, I can sit there just munching away addictively on those sort of things. So there are many ways of making organ meats that can really be addictive, I can tell you. And so if you combine a bit of organ meats throughout the week, fine. I probably have liver twice a week, probably 100 grams each time as a sort of a snack. I've had other times where I've had more, sometimes less. It depends. I can vary it. Sometimes I go off it for a week. I haven't had any this week, just too many other things. I forgot to take it out of the deep fridge to defrost so I could actually basically cook it. So it never happened. Probably next week I'll get back into it. So, but at the end of the day, it's a good multivitamin in that regard. And I deliberately do combine it with this and overcook it. And I don't give a shit that I'm losing half the nutrition because I get so much. I don't need that extra stuff anyway. I just want the taste and just get a lower dose multivitamin. So that's the way I do it anyway. And it works for me. We're more on the basically stuff. That's it. Basically, you're a frog. And basically, you're a bird brain. Exactly. He's bloody annoying, isn't he? God, he's trouble. God, with those two. Just lost my spot. There you go. Both sucking up. God. Don't you have any self-respect for yourselves? God almighty, sure, they've got no, absolutely no self-respect, these two. Oh. Taurine's good for sleep. On me, and boron helps my body cause 5 big changes. Look, yeah, boron's good for normalizing hormones, which is good. Don't overdo it for too long. Once people do the higher dose and come down over the month, then they sort of stick to 3, especially for women that are sort of that menopausal or postmenopausal and they want that stability. It really normalizes things, which is important. Men as well. as they get over that 65-year range, they too go through these hormonal changes, and at that stage, boron is sort of important for them as well as a stabilizing to work their way into those later years. So yes. Anyway, but remember, not excess, over 20, toxic, deadly. So we want to, at the highest is 12, and we don't want to stay there for too long because it can create other imbalances. So it's a quick fix: 12, 9, 6, 3. We stick to 3 as a long-term proposition. These things are interventions. They are not a permanent fixture. Oh man, I'm tired. Don't know why. All I do today was drive a fork truck wearing you out. Oh, look, sometimes you mind, I mean, I have days where I can plow through hours and hours of work, and I'm still not tired. I'll go out for a walk, and then other days I'll wake up and just mentally, because I've been taxed for a number of things, personal things, stressed and all that. And what happens is stress really bleeds through your B vitamins. And what happens is because you bleed through your B vitamins, you don't have enough for, remember the Krebs cycle. It needs all those to basically create the hydrogen ions. So it goes through twice and creates 8. 8. Let's do that properly. People think we can't count. And yes, so it has a requirement for B vitamins. So that can be a factor that I find. Yeah. So maybe, sleep, rest, there's a lot of factors. Some de-stress, sort of bit of yoga. Yes, things can help. I'll go through these quickly. What's Blinky saying? We should start experiments on more birds. I bet. God. The evil frog. That's all I can say. I noticed K2, MK4 makes me forget to brush my teeth. I really only brush my teeth when they get gross, and I don't get gross unless I cheat. I do floss after every meal. Yeah, I do. So I sometimes look. I'm a bit similar. I mean, my mate actually, he went to his doctor and he actually said, "You're brushing too much because you're damaging too much of your enamel." We weren't meant to brush. Far better to not put the stuff in your mouth that actually is going to cause the problem. And MK4 is really good at, getting rid of all the tartar, clearing the teeth out, as long as you're not putting shit back in. And that's true. MK2 is really good. I know people espouse MK7, but my sort of view of MK7 is, what does the body convert everything? It takes all the other menaquinones, including K1, and converts them to MK4. When they do a radioisotope analysis of cells, that means they actually tag the different menaquinones and all that. Guess what they find in cells in large quantities with radioactive tags? MK4. Because all mammals, basically, that is the animal form of vitamin K2, is MK4. And that is why when it hits the bloodstream, it doesn't stay in the bloodstream. It doesn't have to be converted. It doesn't have to basically have any resident time. It's like chylomicrons that get sucked in when you're a healthy body. Otherwise, if you're unhealthy, they can remain in your bloodstream up to 6 hours. But if you're not, they can actually have a resident time of 10 minutes, and that's it. The same thing with MK4. it has a very low resonant time. And so what happens is people take the supplements, and then after an hour or whatever, they actually test them to see, and they go, oh, there's no MK4 in the bloodstream. Oh, the body, there's no serum MK. Oh, there's plenty of MK7 serum. Yeah, because one, a third of the population can't even convert the damn thing. Two, it takes a very long time to basically be of any use or get excreted. So, yeah, that's expensive urine, just for those who are unfamiliar with my terms. So basically, exactly, MK4 is the animal form that's in eggs, in liver, in all the, in organ meats, in seafood or whatever. That is the prime, and all the others, even from 1 right through to 12, all those menaquinones, in particular things like you'll find very high in certain types of foods, which are 8 and 10 and stuff like that. These are other menaquinones that many people don't hear about. They all get converted. They actually I think 8 and 9, 8. I'm not sure about 9. I can't remember 9, but I know 8 and 10 do convert much better than even 7. So, but the thing is, remember, they can extract it from natto, which is a soy product, and they can sell it to you, and they can make money, where it's much harder to produce MK4. That's why it's a very expensive supplement. They can't make as much money, less profitable. Simple as that. That is why most supplements are MK7, because they're cheap. Remember, the best cheeses for MK4, Brie, Camembert, and Gouda. Anyway, let's move on. In terms of cheeses, that is. And emu oil, if you're adventurous. Bird oil. What do you think, T1? You're setting up an extraction site? I bet he is. He's already thinking tick, 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 tick. I'll sort him out. I'll sort him out. That's all he thinks. Evil frog. That's all I can say. Any way to get your body temperature up, and of course your peripheral circulation, that changes if it is really cold. Look, exercise will do it. When you've come from something like that, a hot bath can actually also help. There are things like that. There are certain substances, I'm trying to remember now, some of them, like a lot of the actual compounds in peppers, they can really increase the heat in your body. The other thing that actually can have a bit of an effect is also niacin. Funnily, it can actually have, plus it is great for vasodilation and all that sort of stuff, which is really good, which is what really you need to get, But really, at the end of the day, there's nothing like good clothing if you're outdoors. Let's put it that way. And it's a peripheral circulation problem. Then there's probably some narrowing of those arteries and some other issues where that is a protocol of MK4 high doses for a period and a clean diet, because you don't want soft plaque. So that's a more involved thing. So it depends on where this is coming from and what your circumstance, your lifestyle. I'm not really, peripheral circulation. There are certain situations that people have, certain disease situations, and genetics. But when I look at the data, the information, I think it's at the end of the day driven by, it's not more, a lot of these associational studies, and it's really hard to pin down, whether there are real genetics there involved or whether it's really just, insulin resistance of past indiscretions that cause the problems. I know also if you're basically very low on protein and you're doing like a ketogenic diet and stuff like that, yes, you can basically cause yourself a bit of coldness and all that. You can also downregulate the thyroid slightly and all that, and that can cause a bit of coldness. One way of actually preventing the reverse T3 that can have an effect on that is basically using selenium supplementation. But the downside is if you push up your thyroid, you may burn off. If you're not providing yourself with enough protein, you may lose protein, because it's also a protein sparing strategy from the body to use more reverse T3. So you've got to be very careful with these things, how you biohack them and stuff like that. And also really knowing exactly what the causal reason is. So I don't know what you're doing currently dietary-wise or how you're living your life. So send me an email, give me some details, background details, past indiscretions, what you're doing, what you're reading and stuff like that. So I've got some, this week I'll be focusing on emails. So you will get, it'll be later towards the end of the week, but you will get a reply. So I can give you something better, because, you know, sometimes things can be complicated and sometimes people can miss things, and it could be a factor that you've actually haven't mentioned. And so I can give you multiple questions. I can sit here for the next hour or two, and that would be blowing my time to try and ascertain. So really, I need a detailed background and all that to really understand, is it vascular? That means, is it driven by vascular things, past indiscretions, high insulin, or past sugar consumption or whatever? Or is it other factors, genetics? That's why I also do genetic tests, and I actually encourage people to do genetic tests. But and if you have genetic tests, I can provide you with a few snips you can check and validate. Anyway, let's move on. You're absolutely right. When I have poor sugar control, I pee a lot. Exactly. That's basically it. Always has been. It's a deterrent depletion strategy from the body. You know, it's, yeah, sugar dehydrates and also, you know, forces more fluids, you know, peeing because of this deuterium issue. And so then it makes you thirstier. And that's what she was going through, thirst. You know, you become very thirsty and extremely, you know, urinating to extreme levels. So, yes. And I just, you know, I mean, I go to sleep, I wake up. I don't wake up in the evenings. I don't have these issues. I used to, but I don't. I'm glad I don't. You know, so my only indiscretion is on Saturday when I have ice cream, like I had yesterday, and oh well, obviously, you know, but you know, the amount of ice cream that I had actually just added about 60 grams of sugar all up with all my other sort of indiscretions for that day. So I'm still low carb in a sense. So even though, you know, obviously if I sat there and ate a whole tub of, you know, ice cream, yep, that would not definitely, you know, that would definitely push me to the 100 grams or over. But, you know, the amount that I had, which I usually have, and that I only do it once now. I've stopped doing it through the week, which I was, because it's not good, you know, because you basically end up continually in that, you know, and that's what I've actually lost a couple of kilos because I stopped the ice cream through the week. Yes, I was a bad boy. So I took myself to the corner, grabbed myself by the ear, gave myself a good spanking, and I stopped doing it. Now let that be a lesson to you, T2. Okay, who's this? Patrick. Is it the guy that somebody actually mentioned in a comment that this guy spoke to Ivor Cummings apparently, and was pushing some, what do you say? It was a K product, I think, a K2 product. It had, I can't remember what the exact comment, but the actual person said something about that his focus was primarily on MK7 from memory. Now, is that true? Is that what did he actually push up the importance of MK7? Because if he did, that's nonsense, because MK7 in a third of the population can't even be converted, and the rest are very poor converters. Most of the stuff that we get in, a lot of, you know, if you're on a plant-based diet or whatever, about 90% you'll get is K1, And even there, people can be poor converters depending on a whole lot of other things. Oh, God. There goes a spanking comment from Bird Brain. Oh, God almighty. So, yeah, look, I hope I haven't misrepresented the person. What is it? Concentrated K. So what is that the product that he's selling? Okay, let me just try and see if I can find it. Out of interest. Okay, concentrated K. Okay, so it's a mixed. Let me just share. And so this is the product that he actually sells, or does he actually sell it, or does he actually basically promote it, or what's it? Is he getting kickbacks from it, or whatever? What is it? So K2 subgroup, 7 and so where's the concentrate content? Is that the content? Click here, chart. Okay, content in, no, that's foods. It's probably where you should be getting most of it, unless you've got an underlying issue where you need to decalcify or whatever from past indiscretions. It's got a bit of astaxanthin in there as well. View 2. Okay, so he's got 5. So K1, most of that's going to end up in the colon. Do you realize that? Just letting you know. And the colon, because the ileum, which is at the bottom of your small intestine, that's where bile actually will capture the K and take it in. Anything in the colon, goodbye, heading for the toilet. So the majority of that will end up in the toilet. The first part. The second part will definitely get absorbed at the bottom of the small intestine, the ileum, and due to bile salts, but you have to have bile salts to take it up. And the MK7 will get in there, but it will be very poorly converted and vary between people. And that dose is so low, it's basically what a waste of fucking money. You know, I mean, that is just piss poor. I mean, that's really low. God almighty. I'm basically recommending people grams, let alone milligrams. I mean, God, I can get more in brie. I can get, like, I have 100 grams of brie, and I can get, what is it, about nearly 300 milligrams. You know, so give us a, or is it? Hold on, I can't remember now. I may be misrepresenting myself. So let me just clarify this just to correct myself so I don't sound like a complete and utter buffoon. Okay. Breathe right and to. Oh, it's in IUs. Oh God, man, that's not vitamin K2, you twits. I think this is a study that I actually showed ages ago. I think this is the one. Let's just take a look. Oh, that's right. It's in nanograms. Okay, so it's not a look. It's, yeah, I go for high doses anyway when it comes to supplements. That's pretty low. So it's usually the iHerb one. We don't want the liposomal vitamin D. Let's go there. I'll show you guys exactly the ones. So that's the 5 milligram one. That's the same, isn't it? That's 25. Okay. Sorry, I made a mistake. It's milligrams. I'm having a bad day. My mind's elsewhere. Yeah, so it is a good dose. It is a good dose. Okay. But how much does it cost, Bird Brain? Because the MK, yeah, it is a good dose. Milligram, that's my mindset. Yeah, the other ones are micrograms. Yes, yes. My brain is elsewhere. Anyway, I probably need some coffee. That's what it is. So, no, that's a better dose than the other one, because the other one, there's two. That one there, and where's this one? There's another one here somewhere. That's one, and this is 15 milligrams. There it is, 15 milligrams. And that's 25. So basically the K1 is unimportant. The K7 is unimportant, but the MK4 is a really high dose. So that's really good in that regard. Let's just see what the price is out of interest. 45 for a quantity. What was the... Go back. 60 capsules. So these are 90 capsules, but it is a smaller dose. Yeah, the price isn't too bad. Yeah. But somebody told me that he actually does promote the importance of MK7. So maybe I got the wrong message, you know. So yeah, maybe he was misrepresented. I don't know. I haven't seen the Ivor thing, so I don't know. But no, it looks like an okay supplement. Looks fine in general terms. It's even got some astaxanthin. The only problem with the astaxanthin I'd be worried about is how was it sourced. So if it's from a krill-based thing, it's probably okay. If it's from an algae thing, there's always the risk of aldehydes. So that's why I don't, the only time I actually have recommended astaxanthin to people to get it from a good dose, a good form, is basically when they're going on a holiday and they're going to be cheating and potentially going into restaurants which are going to have seed oils, so they can refresh those fatty acids and sort of reduce the damage. They're not going to eliminate the damage, but reduce some of the damage. So that's probably the only thing in that regard. But yeah, so yeah, my brain's elsewhere and I cocked up a bit. So I would have to say that doesn't look too bad, Bird Brain, as a product. It's not too bad. The only problem is the astaxanthin, that I would have to do a bit of research to find out exactly what they're actually sourcing it from and how they're getting it. Is it on the third one? Okay. It's from algae. So that's actually been extracted from an algae source, the astaxanthin. Okay. Yeah, that would require a bit of research to look into the company and find out what their industrial processes are, how they're actually purifying the astaxanthin, and whether they actually have a study. So you need to ask them, do you have a study, a third-party study that actually shows quite clearly from a third independent source that their astaxanthin has either very low aldehydes or has near zero aldehydes, nearly undetectable. That's what you need to find out. Because the problem with astaxanthin supplements that come from algae and not from krill is that they tend to have higher levels of aldehydes. It's the same thing, a lot of the algae supplements that the vegans get. And I mean, Bart and Pim have done a number of studies on these products, and they've actually found a lot of aldehydes. And that's the only misgiving that I've got for this product. But the MK4 quantity is a really good, if you're doing a therapeutic type. It's probably overkill for the average person. So if you're trying to decalcify because you've got, hard, but I will look into it because I need to find out, because that's a good quantity. Because usually I would get people to have 2 tablets, a day of 15 and 15, where here you can just have 1 in a sense. So yeah, but I still, look, I'm not going to recommend it until I actually look into it. I need to find out about the aldehyde issue before I, because aldehydes can rip lipid rafts. They're really damaging to the body. And so, we don't want to basically be putting stuff in that could potentially create more havoc. Anyway, let's move on. The issue is missing. G'day, Daniel. And I'll go through these. It's fucking 12 o'clock. We've got 1 hour. God, and I'm behind. Shit. What's new, Blinky? Exactly. Is fish oil, maybe even other poofers really having an anti-thyroid effect? No. If so, is a cigarette does teeth? Nah, nothing to do with that. As long as you're getting basically selenium, you're getting zinc, you're getting those sort of nutrients, and a couple of others. You need a bit of copper, you need a bit of vitamin D, you need a bit of the other stuff, but they're the key ones that basically are also an iodine. As long as you're getting sufficient of that, you're good to go. Selenium also has a good effect, that it actually modulates the reverse T3 effect. So it can actually, if let's say you're really low carbing, 0 carbs, nothing, and you eat a bit of liver, you eat a bit of eggs, you're getting a bit more selenium in your diet, and especially if you're over about 200 micrograms, I usually am around about 200, 250, and I can tell you, I go out and I'm quite warm. Come to think of it, there is another hot biohack about uncoupling, which I haven't mentioned. I may do a video next week. Actually, my mate really wants to know about it, because I used to go out in the winter. This is a couple of years back. This is before I got onto YouTube. I even really mucked around with YouTube, and I actually used a biohack to uncouple my mitochondria, to create more like brown adipose tissue effects. And I was so hot. I mean, this is winter, and this is Tasmania down on the waterfront. And I was walking in shorts and t-shirt. My mate thought I was crazy. My mate that I walk with, and he didn't realize that I was doing this biohack, and I never really told him, because we were competing who can get skinnier quicker. So I wanted to win, So basically, we're very competitive, us two. So, and we give each other a hard time, as you can understand. Good friends, but we're like brothers. So we're literally, yes, pretty much. And yeah, there is a biohack for uncoupling, but I'll go into it another time. I'll do a video. Anyway, but yeah, don't worry about it. Look, fish oil, the biggest problem with fish oil is why I wouldn't use it. Get it from fish. Get it from high quality, the Rosetta. Okay. Let's turn that off and let's share the screen. So this company, so that is the cod liver oil. That it's a Norwegian, and the extraction is with traditional methods. No heat, no chemicals, no crap, no nothing. It's traditional stuff. that isn't going to have the aldehydes or the oxidative primary products or whatever that all the other fish oils. So I wouldn't touch fish oils because they are been extracted with heat and all that. They're crap. This is the only stuff that I actually have ever recommended to anyone because I use it myself in winter to get a bit of vitamin D and also get some retinol and stuff like that. It's like a bridge for me because I usually used to go to the tropics for 1 month. And so I would use that as a bridge between going to the tropics and all that. And that's for some reason slow, so we'll fuck it off. Or that's right. How did I get the information last time? Bloody hell. Anyway. Oh, that's right. It was this one. So those are the sort of dosages. DHA, more DHA than EPA, which is good. Vitamin D is nearly 100%, but that's actually from, it's not stuff that they've put in, like the other ones they put in, like 1,000 IUs. That's actually what comes out of the actual product. And you nearly got 78% of nearly 4,000 IUs of vitamin A, retinol, in the actual animal form. So it's a really good product in that regard. And you've got, everybody knows Terry Walls, the lady that had MS. Chris Kresser's in there, involved in the organization. Liz Wolf is in there. And recently I've noticed that Eric has become their seller, one of their best sellers. So he's basically been involved recently in it as well. So I think he may be selling it on his website. So there you go. I didn't realize that. There you go. So I did know that Terry and Chris Kresser have been involved. These two have been involved for for the longest period of time. Liz came on more recently in the last couple of years. And yeah, I didn't notice Eric. There you go. He's got into that group as well. But that's the product that I use in winter. So yes, I would never use the other stuff because it's damaged. It's simple as that. And the other source of my other PUFA is from animal foods, the foods that I eat. And as I've shown, you've seen, Sam, you can go back to my other live streams and other stuff that I've actually shown. I will have to do a separate little video just on the PUFA so you guys can link it up to, the Salad Boys site and everywhere else. So, because they pretty much ignore me. So if you put up more, you can frustrate them. but pretty much, it's a non-issue. Actually, when you give cured meat, bacon, nothing else, none of this dodgy shit that they put where they put the seed oils, the sunflower oil and stuff like that in the mix of the chow of the actual, and you just give a carcinogenic and then you basically give it bacon, it's protective. And bacon has, remember, lard has less deuterium, 115 against 120 in tallow. It's superior in terms of deuterium as well. So it's going to require less, effort for the body to deplete. So yes, most longevity populations like these Sardinians and Okinawans cook primarily with lard, and so did many of our ancestors. So yes, if it was that bad, it would have caused problems historically. It never did. Never did. And that's why even Salad Boy goes, oh, I can't prove it, but I really believe it in my bones. I mean, that's not science. God, that's like a religion. Fuck off. Leave my pork alone. Leave my pork alone. Anyway, I've become very musical. Good to hear, mate. Offering services, nurse? You got a fan. Yeah, it's good to have you back, mate. Vegetars criticising raw milk by saying it has lectins, unlike their cooked veggies in which they are destroyed by heat. Oh, God. Are they that dumb? Are they that dumb? It's like oxalate. The body actually produces oxalate to eliminate things, but it produces a very small amount, you know. So these aren't the same, you know. Animal-based, like even different things that may seem similar, but they're not the same, you know. So it's bullshit. So, as I would say to them, show me one study where you've got basically an increase in any of the interleukins. Just one study, just show me where the interleukins go up because of raw milk. They don't. So it's just bullshit. The only thing people react to is the sugar in the milk, the lactose, and some to the A1 casein. So if you eliminate if you did a study where you eliminated all these things, the rest of it would not cause any problem to anyone. So primarily those are the only two things. It's just nonsense. The Maasai consume, on average 4.5 liters a day. God, they'd be a mess. They wouldn't be breeding like mad. It's just crap. Vegans they latch on little reductionist piece of shit. And, sometimes I like to don't make remarks. YouTube is noticing. You know what I mean? Fucking piece of shit. Misanthropists, that's what they are. They are pieces of shit misanthropists that hate the human race. And the ultimate conclusion for them is basically now neonatalism, making the human race extinct. And basically, they would, and some of them have even talked about it, genocide of the human race, that we are a scourge. Fucking sick pricks. Alcohol is the other driver of visceral fat. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Very much so. That's probably Froggy's problem. Blinky's. He likes a bit of putting a bit down. There you go. Pickled frog. That's an option. Yes. Good to see you, Sarah. Yes, our sort of lines did not meet. Yes, it's a bit like that. Never heard of milk having. Yeah, neither have I. Maybe it's something different that they're actually talking about, which is similar, but I haven't really heard anything as well. So I'm not sure what they're talking about, or lectin mimicking molecules or stuff like that. But I've heard of everything else under the sun, and I've heard about high estrogen, where it's not estradiol, it's estrone, which is a weak form, and it's only, you can have a couple of glasses of milk and you're only getting a couple of nanograms, like I think, what was it, 6 or 8 nanograms. And, our bodies produce 53,000 for men and 630,000 for women in nanograms. So it's not a non-issue. And then the other thing about the hormones, well, first of all, their hormones are different. Bovine hormones are different to human hormones, and our they can't bind to our receptors, so they just get pooped out. They're irrelevant. So all this is just one thing after another. Now, obviously, when it comes to the lactose, that is a legitimate problem for some people. When it comes to, and it usually is people that have had some damage, some microbiome imbalances and stuff like that. Because most people, if they got good enough lactobacillus and probably got one of their genes, and sometimes even people I've come across that have said, I've got none of the genes, and I've got really good, I've never had a gut problem and all that, and it's never affected me. So it could be they've got a really good bacterial, the lactose bacillus type, that basically are breaking down the sugars and not causing this problem any symptoms. So there's so many bloody factors that come in play. Then when it comes to A1 milk, those casein proteins, before they get completely broke down into and denatured, and then recombined, is it the actual casein, or is it? Now, I have spoken about that there is a subcategory of IGF-1. It's a subclass of IGF-1 that can actually sort of bring it in. There's things, but at the same time, it's sort of an irrelevancy in that regard. So I think people, if they've got leaky gut, I wouldn't be doing dairy, I wouldn't be doing seafood, and I would not be doing eggs either. I would be focusing on organ meats for my nutrient density and muscle meats, and that's all I would be until these things got sorted out, fixed. But that's what you'd need to do, and give time for your body to actually to recuperate and repair itself. But to blame then foods just because you've destroyed or damaged large parts of your body and they're not functioning properly is nonsense. Yes, very good show. Yeah, but I'll look into it. It's sort of my curiosity. What's the angle? Because I bet you anything, I bet you that it's nonsense, and there are no studies for it, no science, and it's just an absolute beat up. And it's good to find out, because then I can actually just ridicule it completely as it should be, and then you guys can go and post it on their fucking sites and nail it to their fucking cross. Anyway, they do upset me when they touch my raw milk. Better not forget this. My milky oxalate juice has gone a bit cold. Damn. It is 12. I should have broken my fast at 11. Anyway, I'll get an extra hour in the evening. What will I do with it? I wonder. Will I be naughty? No. Anyway. G'day, Bo. Good to see you popping in. Any explanation for feeling bodily or perhaps somatic euphoria? The only thing that I get somatic, bodily, somatic means body. It comes from the Greek word soma, which means body. Euphoria, I would say drugs could do that for you. Bit of alcohol. I know niacin does it for me. I get a bit euphoric and energetic. I know my sister, younger sister, she gets no hot flushes and she gets massive bursts of energy compared to me when she does niacin. God, that upsets me. God almighty. But I do upset her because we're 11 months apart. And so for 3+ weeks, we're twins. And I go, twin, and it really annoys her. So I said, for this period of time, you're slightly older. You're my twin sister. Yeah. Got to annoy your sibling somehow. Yes. Yeah, I would say just the ketones. That would only be the thing. But look, I don't even know whether it's the ketones as well. Look, no, it's not the ketones. Ketones are just energy. I'll tell you what my hypothesis is. And I think there's a bit of truth in that. I mean, I know that the ancient Romans used to, like, people that were, like, had schizophrenia or some mental disorder, they would throw them into a dungeon and lock them up, and they would fast them for a period of time. And they noticed that they normalized. So they got into deep ketosis, and we know that things like epilepsy and all that seem to resolve themselves. So what I think is that you've got less, your body's not under, there's no metabolic process, everything's sort of calmed down, and I think you're just, there is some sort of like a hermetic effect to fasting that gives you that sort of, pleasure, like you get from exercise. When you exercise, you have a sort of you feel really great after, euphoric, after. And I think it's something similar that happens with fasting. But I can't pin it down. I don't know what it is, but I think it's just something to do with our biochemistry that, when you exercise quite a bit, you're depleting all your glycogen. You're pushing yourself into a sort of a ketotic state and in a less anabolic state. Maybe that creates some level of euphoria, some chemicals that we don't fully understand and all that. Be interesting, but I haven't actually seen any real study when it comes to that. So, and when I talk to people that do long fasts or fast that long, I did notice the first time I did it, it felt different than I did it the second time, third time, and all that. Now it doesn't seem as, I don't really get any boost or any euphoria or anything, or any sort of, maybe it's that transition, where your body feels very different than what before, and maybe we think of it mentally. We translate that into, oh, wow, this feels really great compared to how crappy we were feeling before. And maybe it's something like that. So maybe it's a placebo thing, or maybe it's basic because we're expecting something, or maybe, so it could be, who knows? It could be a number of factors, wild speculation from my side. So hope that made sense. I was quite euphoric for a moment there, Bird Brain. Frank can acknowledge anything or anyone because everything is his ideas. Exactly. It is all his, and don't you forget it. More chit-chat amongst yourselves? There's no chance of me getting any sleep. OTM, Cat is very playful. Yes. Cats can be like that. They're either doing two things. They're either scratching the furniture or basically being very playful. Oh, God, I'm not going to even comment. I'm going to move on from that. More comments. We'll move through the comments. Bloody cat got into my cupboard and dragged out the packet of face masks and put holes in them again. The plastic is completely perforated from his nails. Bad cat, bad cat. Yes, they can do quite a bit of damage. I know. Lucy's literally done a bit of damage at Dad's place. One of his couches. Oh God, he's tried to put something there to sort of cover it now, and I'm going, oh God, this is just not working out, and it's just yes. Collagen powders adding to one's diet, Harry. How much is it? How much, in your opinion, ranges or products are different? If you're getting enough protein, you probably don't need collagen powders. I usually say to people do bone broths, stuff like that. I find that collagen powders, let me put it this way. Some people, depending on their genes, so if you're a person that if you eat high oxalate foods, you very easily create oxalate. If you consume a lot of collagen powders, you'll be more likely to produce oxalates. So that is a problem. I just noticed Lukey has got a new image for me. Actually, that's a pretty good one. Let me make sure I haven't missed any of the others. Thanks, Loki. God, I look like an Alexander the Great. Fuck. Oh, shit. Smug Harry. Is it my prickly self or me being a prick? Or did I just put my face in something? Could have been. It could have multiple interpretations. And they all may be true or could be true. Thanks, mate. That one I'm definitely saving. Oh, God. Go back to the special. And better change the name. We'll get rid of that. And let's go to where's private. Okay. That's going into my private folder. Anyway, so done. Let's move on. My brain has left the building. Had 3 hours sleep in the past 40. Shit. Need to get some sleep, Bo. I'm a bit of a night owl myself sometimes. Not a good thing. If I didn't have a clean diet and everything else, I probably would be suffering far more. So, because I do have late night type genes, and I've always been a bit of a night owl, which to my detriment. That went down the wrong way. Damn. Yes. Insomnia can be an issue. Oh, for fuck's sake. Choking myself with fluids. Yes, please hit the like button. Yeah, they are. Yes, vitamin D and vitamin K, or MK4. Yep. I mean, most people don't probably know that the body, when it takes K1, it converts it to K3, medial, what is it called? Medelone, or whatever it's called. And then after that, it actually converts it to MK4 in the cell. And that is what's not detectable in the blood. So people say, oh, but when you put a radiocarbon thing, yep, you pick it up. Do organ meats do anything for your stem cells or regeneration? Yes, they do. They help. So in a number of different ways. I mean, fasting, good nutrition, exercise, they all actually upregulate your stem cells. So when you exercise, you get improvements in stem cell production. When you're basically, I mean, there are other things that also help. I mean, citrulline can play an important role. No, I think I discussed it in the last one where I talk about, because when it comes to, that's the muscle side with myonuclei and but at the same time, there are certain nutraceuticals that I'm going to do something on in regards to stem cell sort of activation and stuff like that. Cold, sort of when people sort of calorie restrict, it does increase slightly. When they fast, it does increase as well. When they exercise, you get an increase in stem cells. But there are certain types of things you can do that actually also increase, like supplementation. I mean, Bart's got one that he actually promotes now that actually seems to be fairly good. I've looked into it, and I'm actually considering it, not for myself, but for Dad. So I haven't chatted with him. I'm going to bring it up this when I go over and see him today. And if he's interested, I may try and sign him up. I have to find out, because he's got an old bank book account and he's really untechnological, very old-fashioned. And so may have to set up some sort of direct debit thing so he can get his supplements and stuff like that. So I don't have to fiddle around and sort things out for him. So we'll look into that. So, but that'll be up to him. I have, I'll mention it to him and stuff like that. So that's an option. There's probably a few people on this stream that have actually tried it. I know Nikki, Necro Kitty has. I believe Shell has as well, and a few others. So you could ask them in the actual chat, what's their sort of results and what they've had an effect in that regard. But if you want to do it the old-fashioned way, exercise, good sleep, fasting, things like that help as well. Yeah, ubiquinol's needed. But you can actually get, from you, actually the most dense in coenzyme Q10 is basically heart. Actually, the heart muscle of animals. It's the most dense in terms of the amount of ubiquinol in it, or the coenzyme Q10. So I don't know if are you into heart steaks? Have you tried heart minces? So you mince you go to a butcher and just tell them to mince some hearts and combine them with muscle meat, and you'll have burgers that are very high in coenzyme Q10. So there are a whole lot of options that you can actually use, because some people don't like the sort of not the texture, but it sort of is a bit more proteiny, or probably that's not the best word to use, proteiny, proteiny. It sounds like some ridiculous thing that a young child would say. But anyway, sometimes I have my childish moments. And that's a much better way of getting it from food, eggs as well, stuff like that. Try and get it from food, guys. You don't need to supplement everything. For me, it's citrulline, it's taurine, those sort of things. Choline, because I need to. That's when I'm too lazy to have enough organ meats. Or I haven't had choline now for about 2 weeks. Any supplementation from my choline supplement, because I've been getting eggs, I've been eating liver and stuff like that. But when I sort of have a week where I just want muscle meat and nothing else, I've had enough, and that's when I throw in the choline supplement. So I'll try to keep to aminos strategically, as far as I'm concerned, and try and get the rest from the actual diet itself. If you're eating nutrient dense like organ meats, seafood, things especially, I love going down to the waterfront and having some oysters. I'll have to do a video now that it's becoming summer, warmer. I will do a video down there, and I'll go and actually buy some, and I'll get some lemon juice, and I'll have some raw oysters, and I can make you guys jealous. Anyway, let's move on. Totally 3 months extreme stress has fucked my body big time. Yeah, you got to deal with the stress. That is the worst thing that I've suffered in the past from stress as well, and I know what you mean. Yes, not a good thing. It can really mess your body up. That's true. And you go through B vitamins like there's no tomorrow. So organ meats become very important, which are very packed in B vitamins. So when you're going through quite a bit of stress. Anyway, let's move on. Can organs cover B and selenium? Yes, they can. I tend to get some of my selenium from organ meats, and the other amount I get it from eggs, because eggs are a very good source of selenium as well. So, and it's bioavailable. Biggest problem with Brazil nuts, one, it's bound to phytate. I have come across a brand of Brazil nuts where what they do is, this is done by a family who, I'm not sure whether they're vegetarian or vegans, and the actual product is an activated one. It's on my fucking work machine. Anyway, I've got an image on my work machine. What I'll do is next week I'll remember to put on my memory stick and bring it here, and I'll actually show you guys. And what they've done is they've done some sort of method where they've I'm not sure whether it's soaking and cooking or what exactly. They did some sort of process where they actually broke down a lot of the phytic acids and stuff like that. So they reduced the amount of chelation in these, and so they've created a product that has more bioavailable. It's a new type of product. Interesting. So yeah, I sort of grabbed some from Dad, but it really interesting. And so for people that may have an egg issue and all that, you can be 90% carnivore. You can have a few Brazil nuts, but in an activated form, it could be an option for some people. Biggest problem with Brazil nuts is you may get too much or too little, depending on what the soils are. That's the only problem with animal products. They are very stable. Those animals will take a certain amount, will store in their organs and in their body and in their bones, and the rest they will secrete like we do. Any excess, we get rid of it through our urine, or we get rid of it through our feces. That's what other animals do. Plants don't do that. They pack it in. So if the soils are very heavy in selenium, you could actually have one Brazil nut and you could be nearly, I'm not saying you're going to get at toxic levels, but you would be at very high levels. So very easily you could get into toxic levels from a handful of Brazil nuts, potentially from certain sources. The majority of the commercial stuff out there is quite low, so it's less of an issue, and quite a lot of it's chelated, not bioavailable. But this product is bioavailable, but it seems that the soils are moderate in selenium, so it's not you're not getting a big amount. So it's an interesting product, let's put it that way. I know City Organic sell it. So if anybody in Hobart, City Organic has it. This activated form of, it's expensive, about $22 a pack. So it's not cheap, I can tell you, in that regard. But if you're having just 2 a day to get your selenium, maybe an option for some people, especially people that are not willing to, if you've got family members that aren't willing to go all the way to carnivore, it's an option in that regard, without having a lot of the anti-nutrients that you get in traditional Brazil nuts. So, yes. Anyway, I'm always looking around, guys, to see what new product range and what stuff is out there, because there's always new stuff, and I'm always inquisitive. I poke my nose in everything and try to find out what people are doing, what's happening, and whether it's bullshit or good, and the positives and negatives. There's always pros and cons with everything. Anyway, yeah, it's good to hear that you're getting there. Yeah, drop me a line, mate, if you need any help with anything. Yeah, I think we all are. Thanks, Shaw. I mean, I'm surprised you're not in therapy. I'm really surprised. I really worry about you. I mean, it's scary. Maybe the nurse can help you with a bit of therapy. Any thoughts on uracilic acid rosemary extract? I've heard about it. Like Japan supposedly curbs muscle protein synthesis. I don't know enough about it. I've heard about it. I've heard that it has some antimicrobial, some people have said. I've got no idea. I haven't looked into it. So it may not. Yeah. I'd have to look into it. I may look into it if I get a chance next week, and see whether there's anything on PubMed about it. That's where I usually go. I usually go there and try and look at the studies and then go and see whether, and most of the studies are done by industry, and most of the studies are either reviews, or they're not done on humans, or they're basically done in such a way where you go, this is poor statistical. So the statistics are really poor, so it's an association, and you go, all right, they're selling a product. So don't know until I look. If you've got a study, email it to me and I'll take a look at it and tell you what's wrong with it. Most of them are, because of a lot of bullshit industry studies that are, yes, a lot of beautiful statements, like they also tend to not have too much detail in their abstraction. And then when they hit the bottom part, the discussion part, or where they put all their comments, there's speculation like there's no tomorrow. And you go, okay, you're selling a product. Gotcha. I'm not even going to comment. I'm not even going to bloody comment. What can I say? Exactly, Daniel. Exactly. That was exactly my sentiment. I just had to restrain myself. I'm online. Oh, God. Yeah, exactly. What the fuck? Yeah, well, some of those frogs are poisonous. He's mostly just under the skin. I'm not sure T2 wants us to eat his skin. Extraction. Extraction is not an option. Yes, yes. T2 may turn himself into a Dalek. Exterminate. Exterminate. Anybody that's seen Doctor Who would know what I'm talking about, especially the old ones. The new ones are, I won't go into them. I'll upset certain people if I make too many rude comments. Anyway, yes, they're sort of following the new agenda. Yes. You know what I mean, all those sexual agendas or whatever that drive me up the wall. Anyway, yes, my poor Doctor Who got a sex change. Anyway, move on. One topic. Yep. It's great for, yeah, it is. But it does have issues as well, anti-nutrients and stuff like that. But if you're just taking it in a sort of some sort of drink to get a bit of that's different. You can do that without affecting your nutritional intake. Yes, we've heard. Depends on how smart the bird is. That as well. There are plenty of dead birds. Dead birds do not fly. Yes, steak does heal, bird doesn't. Especially that bird. Toxic as. And the frog, poisonous as. Yep, that can help. But then again, we just have to be careful on that pronouncement. There are people that do have genetic sensitivities to nightshades and also genetic sensitivities to the sort of compound peppers. They can actually have an anaphylactic effect. So I wouldn't go that high. I would just put a pinch, try it, see how you react, and really go extremely low and, like a pinch. Don't go to a teaspoon or whatever, just a pinch, then go up and see how you feel, because you don't want to have an anaphylactic shock because of genetics, because, it can happen. So be careful, just to cover that point. No, monkeys are nice. Frogs are poisonous. You like my chimp? Yes. More comments. More comments about beastie things. Interesting. Depends on the monkey. Frog legs. If you're a French monkey, frog legs and, sauteed small flying things. La bird and la frog legs. I know my French friends are going to think I'm crazy. I'll get some comments like I get from all my other friends. Harry, that was not. Oh, God. Oh, God, don't you hate StreamYard? It just literally just jumped and took out everything else. So, yeah, I've lost the other comments. Sorry. Blame StreamYard. G'day, Kate. Especially T1 and T2. We're very affectionate towards them. Some of us to different degrees. God, look here, look, sucking up. God, absolutely, You want a beastie nurse? Yes, doesn't surprise me. The innuendo to the sexual connotation. Yes, I got it. You sick bird. Yeah, he's been taking the rat fish thing. He's seen some improvement, but nothing spectacular. And we weren't expecting anything spectacular. So, because he's got a really bad knee. So, but even slight benefit, slight reductions, and all that is better than nothing. So, but nothing spectacular. I was hoping for a bit more, but you can only try. So I don't know whether we'll continue it because it is an expensive option. Let's put it that way. There may be better options to investigate. Yes, that devious bird. Depends. It's not that white. If it's pastured, it actually is quite on the redder side in that regard. It only goes white when you really cook it. Different areas of pork have got different sort of colouring. It's just because some parts of the pork doesn't have as much hemoglobin. It's just that, it depends on the part. Some parts have more hemoglobin, so it really depends on the different parts. That's all it is. Some of it actually, it's the sort of the structure. We won't go into pork structure now. God. Anyway, I'll move on. There could be a long conversation trying to explain it. I'd have to show images. We want to avoid images, especially when we are down to, 12 minutes. Yes. Not as good as pork. Oh, God. I'm not even going to address that because that'll definitely get me into trouble. Nice one, Bo. Exactly. And a poisonous mouth at that as well. It tastes like chicken. God. Yes, from the laughter. Yes. These two. Oh. Has that bird been nasty to you? It's on its way to Western Australia in a parcel. That's what he means. Read between the lines. Sometimes I fail to drink all the raw milk I purchase here in California, and then a sour taste develops in the milk, of course. Any danger in drinking the sour raw milk? Nah, absolutely none. It's like sour cream or stuff like that. Nah, not an issue. Sometimes, look, it does tend to have a higher, let's say, probiotic base when it becomes sour. And so as long as your gut, you don't have any gut permeability issues or whatever, shouldn't be an issue at all. So I would not really worry about it at all. I mean, sometimes my milk goes a bit sour and I just drink it. I won't use it in my coffee because it just, nah, but I'll drink it as like that, or I may actually combine it with a cheese and basically make like a sauce. That's another option. So, yeah. So if you've got a soft cheese, a soft white cheese, like whether it's feta or whether it's gorgonzola or stuff like that, or what else? Or blue cheese or stuff like that. You can combine that into a sauce. Wonderful. Put a bit of cream as well, just to give it that, to just moderate the sourness slightly, so it doesn't overshoot the other flavors coming from the cheese. Beautiful combination. And then you can use that as a sauce on your meat. So that's another option. It's on its way to Western Australia from Adelaide. You did ship it out, didn't you? Sylvester, that is. Oh, that's not that funny. You can do better than that. Yes. You've missed out the humor. The humor level is sort of increased on this channel. We have our light-hearted moments. Okay, I will. Jared's basically taken a bit of a rest from the web at all and stuff like that. He's got things within his personal life that he has to deal with, family-wise and all that. So he's dealing with those things. And so he's told me, look, I want to take a break. So he's walked away from the whole sort of social media. You haven't seen him anywhere, hardly anywhere. And he's just basically dealing with his own issues and stuff like that and family stuff. So that's pretty much what he's done. He's just taking a break from the whole thing. He said he'll come back. And I said, look, mate, when you decide to come back, just drop me an email and let me know. So he's doing his own thing at the moment with his family. And sometimes, you need to sort of walk away, do your stuff. If you've got things that are, you can't just ignore them. Sometimes you need to deal with them and deal with your life and whatever else and other family matters and different priorities that families have and families put on people. So, if basically dad was, let's say, to become very ill and I had to take extra time off to look after him and all that, this channel would basically be of secondary importance. Let me put it that way. So, we've all got things that we have to deal with in life. I don't want to go to details because that is his private life. If he wants to, when he comes back, he wants to basically let you guys know or give you some details or some reason, that's up to him. I'll leave it up to him. That's the true things. That's the true story. The other stuff, I'm lying. It's bullshit. That's the real. Yeah, he got caught. With three. What was it? It was an actual, one of those big truckloads of contraband across the border. Exactly. There was a firefight as well. Oh shit! I was told not to say anything. Damn. Can't help myself. Milk smuggling. Always the criminal element with you two, Nah, it's definitely not. Let me tell you, it's definitely not. But we can speculate, we can laugh. Nothing wrong with that. I could be telling a falsehood or a half truth. One hot potentially. Weston was a 33-degree Freemason. Harry, we're talking about Weston Price. Oh, was it? No. Yeah, Okay. Oh, according to, oh God, how crazy is that? Bart a Freemason, give us a break. I mean, Bart's an eccentric and a maverick like me. People who are mavericks don't get into organizations. We're not the corporate types. Believe me. You know, people that are very much that follow the rules, that are the corporate types, are the type of people that basically get into this sort of stuff. You know, it's not basically oops. Gotta share this. Oh, can we get it large? Can I get it larger? Hold on. Let me just say, hold on. Just bear with me for a sec. I'm gonna be able to get it larger. Yep. There it is. You read my mind. Lukey boy. Yeah, why am I on this live stream? Damn, I'm missing out. That's my imaginary self dreaming. Anyway, back to reality. Melted in the sauna. God almighty. I suspect that's Jared he's talking about. He's still on that subject. Can't get his mind off anything else. Yeah, look, I don't know. Frankie's really gone to la la land. Sort of. I mean, I started getting some. Before we parted, and I stopped sending him information and helping him. And before he became nasty towards Bart, he started sending me emails, and sort of saying, "Oh no," sort of I'm helping you and becoming bitchy towards me, and I'm going, "What the hell is going on here?" And so I sort of saw the beginnings of that as he became bitchier and bitchier and all that. I won't release any of the emails because that's private. I respect people's privacy. But if he ever tries to release in a way that actually tries to misrepresent me, then I will go through every single one after another. So just he should be warned to not basically in that regard. But I respect people's privacy, but if they don't respect mine, they'll get as much shit as they dish out. But he's just talking crap. This is just nonsense. 32. God almighty. He's got no proof. It's all just nonsense, just made up. I mean, yeah, what can one say? And I don't know where it's coming from. I've got no idea. He seemed like a nice young man when I first sort of started interacting with him. And then a lot of stuff's come out that he's been doing all this other stuff and all that. And I'm going, what the fuck? So I don't know. Maybe he's got issues in his personal life and he's sort of taking it out on other people in order to either hide from himself or hide from others about his own demons inside him. And so he's attacking other people in order to cover his own demons. People usually, when they become very aggressive towards others, they usually, because you've hit a raw nerve, it's very close to home sort of thing. Because most people that are, when you hear, like people that are basically conspiratorial, whatever, or have these strange beliefs about all these crazy sort of stuff that they got into, or even the guys that are involved in these new age Gaia religions or whatever, these cults or whatever, or the vegans or whatever, they tend to basically really believe it. They just like religious believers in a sense. They come across in that format. But he comes across erratic. When somebody comes across erratic, really sort of, like he seems to be mentally sort of not really there, it's just like, I'm not saying he's covering something, but it could be like a deflecting. I'll deflect towards them so I don't have to deal with the things that people think about me. Maybe. I don't know. But it just seems very defensive and very, strange in that regard. But it's nonsense, oh, God. If I misunderstood him and he's a bit of a psychopathic personality and he just likes to play these silly little games to get clickbait or get more subs, maybe. I mean, that's an opinion that others have held and said about him. It could be, but it's like the funny thing was, who was it? Somebody before that was talking about. Remember Hellman when he was actually talking about people being devils and stuff like that? He never brought up mine. He called me a lot of things, but he never brought up mine. Why? Because when I looked at mine, I looked at that website, I looked at mine, I came up as angelic and all this sort of stuff. And I go, no wonder he didn't bring up mine, because it would contradict his whole theory. And that's why I'm saying these people use selective. They won't show you everything, but they were selective. And I was surprised that nobody challenged him to say, well, Helmut, do one on Harry. Let's see his sort of details. But he didn't. Why? Because he knew it's not going to look, his looked badder than mine. So I was more angelic than Hellman, so he really looked bad. So, and those websites are really just dodgy as dog shit anyway. But this is what I mean about selective stuff that people do when they're basically trying to cover their own. They go on the attack and sort of try and actually make everybody else, they are all evil, I'm the good one. That's like a cultish mentality, and it's a nasty mentality, and it's has a sort of a level of evilness to it, and and wanting to harm. A true person of faith is a person who wants to actually help people, bring them away from the darkness into the light, not basically turn on them. People that turn on people usually are nasty, and they've got other agendas. So yeah, I've got very little respect for him nowadays. He's lost a lot of my respect anyway, and I've unsubbed a long time ago. I don't even bother with him in that regard. So anyway, let's move on. But it doesn't surprise me, Bo. It doesn't surprise me at all. Who cares? I don't give a shit. Never have. Yeah. He can use his honey to lube his, what. Anyway, try and keep up, Boo. With your comedy, it's not up to scratch, Froggy. Not up to scratch. You need to pick up your act. MIA. in contraband, missed in action in contraband activities. Yeah, look, I know what you mean. Yes, we all miss Grandpa. Oops. Oops. And it's 1 o'clock. Shit. I'm going to quickly move through these just so they basically, just primarily so people can read them. And I'm about to freaking go. So I need to go brush my hair. I'm a bit unsightly. Animals will always be superior, and plants basically are monocrops. They destroy the environment. You can actually have animals literally pastured, just walking through forests and all that, eating grass and stuff like that, and having no effect on nature like they do in the wild. So absolutely nonsense. And grasslands, burnt down the forest, North American Plain Indians and the Aborigines in Australia to basically create grasslands. They are also carbon sinks. Not that that's an issue, but you know what I mean. But also basically create a lot of diversity of animals and stuff like that. So absolute crap in that regard. So they will never be, when you really look at all the details, it doesn't scratch up. It's nonsense. Monocrops are the things that are destroying the forests around the world, not grazing animals that have been grazing for ages. And the amount that was in the 1970s, the mid-70s to today, we've actually got less cows and cattle that are around. We've had a reduction. We've had a reduction in milk consumption in the US in particular and in Europe, and we've got a reduction basically in cow numbers compared to the 1970s. So we got less, even though we've got more population. What do you think they're consuming? 70% grains. And we're going even more. That is what is doing a lot of deforestation. So absolute crap. It's the kibble that's actually causing it. So don't fall for the nonsense. I'm willing to argue with any one of them. Send them over. I'll deal with them. Are they? How do you know? You seem to have such detailed knowledge. I think he's done one of your relatives in. Dangerous bird. I take folic acid, 1 milligram. Magnesium, stearic, gelatin from pigs, lactose, monohydrate from cornstarch. You probably don't need any of that, to be honest. If you have a bit of liver, you'll get folate. If you have eggs, you'll get folate. Folate as folate, not folic acid, because you may not even be a good converter, so it may not help you at all. I'm a poor converter of folic acid, and I will turn folic acid into arsenic in my body. So I don't have that pathway, and there are quite a few Northern Europeans that don't have it either. So I would not be taking that sort of stuff. And if you check all my other videos on supplementation of these things, you usually get all these silica, and these sort of things tend to be higher in the gelatinous part of animals, plus in bones, plus in some of the organ meats. So there are better options and healthier options for the body. So keep that in mind, mate. You can. Your doctor is talking shit. Because they only look at muscle meat. They don't look at organ meats. They don't look at seafood. They don't look at any of this sort of stuff. Doctors pretty much, they just basically, they know how to cut and stitch people up and how to dispense medicines, pharmaceuticals. And they don't even know how they work. They don't, none of the studies. I've actually challenged my doctors in the past and said, and they could not answer basic questions about some of the medications. They had no idea. They said, oh, well, we're advised that we should be using these for these sort of things. So basically you do it on blind faith. Is that what you're telling me? Well, that's the regs that we have to follow, basically on blind faith. So that's what they're doing. So the doctor's advice is basically, like all advice, is the lowest form of proof. It's an opinion. That's all it is, based on ill-informed advice promoted by people that are making billions of dollars from pushing crap and telling people they can't get it from real food. Obviously, you can't get it from depleted soils, from plant sources, let alone it's chelated and everything else. I mean, as I said, remember last time I said, you can take another plant and you can reduce because of the chelating factors, you can reduce the intake of zinc from oysters. Or you can take tortillas, and the amount of chelating factors, especially the whole grain tortillas, the ones that have got the most anti-nutrients in, they will basically, you will nearly register 0 in zinc intake because they will chelate it and go out the pooper, most of it. So why would you bother? And this is basically what they base it on, because that's where the high RDIs keep going up. Why? Because people are eating more plants and chelating minerals, and they don't have enough anyway, and they end up in the toilet, and people are always deficient, and they go, oh, well, the average, because they base it on the average, remember, the RDI is on the average of the population, so they must be higher, and they keep on going up. That's not a solution. That's madness. So, yes. Anyway. Thanks for the stream. Yep. Bye, everyone. See you, Bo. Thanks for being here. And some of your input and some of your humour will received. And thanks for the other nonsensical shill crap. People need to know. And I need to make a comment on this sort of stuff. Yep, good night, and we'll move on. Moving on, and Blinky. Monkey brain. Yep, selenium. But get it from food. Do not get it. So liver, eggs, supplements can be a bit of a problem sometimes. You have to really get expensive supplements to make it bioavailable. There are some out there, but there are other issues, and it's just that would be a long conversation to explain all the issues. We definitely do, and we will Blinky and rosemary changed the taste of liver. What does it taste like? Tastes like chicken. It has a sort of it gets an aromatic type. It loses that that bloody taste that you get from liver, and so it has this sort of. It's hard to say. It's really, you sort of try it. That's all I can say. John, try it and see what you think. Just basically get a bowl, cut up long strips of liver, thin strips of liver, and cut them in about that long, and put them into a bowl, and basically you want it, if you're using olive oil, you can put it in the fridge, but if you want to use something like with a butter or something like that, but I don't know, what is it warm enough for butter to basically not be in a more fluid way. Maybe you can warm it up a bit, the butter, and combine it and mix it up with the rosemary and let it just sit out there. Put a bit of plastic cover over the bowl, leave it on your table, let it basically, because you're going to be cooking it in a short amount of time, leave it there for about a half an hour or whatever, let it basically take in the actual flavor of the rosemary, and then barbecue it, sort of, and it's like, and I usually do it to be a bit drier, and it's like a jerky type thing. Yeah, okay, I know. It loses probably half or a bit more than half of its nutrition. Who gives a shit if you're having it very often or quite a bit of it? But it really is tasty, really enjoyable. You will enjoy, believe me. Anyway, fried liver in bacon grease and rosemary is a great aromatic. Yeah, look, actually bacon grease and lard really do actually. I wouldn't disagree with you, Shell. Actually, I do have lard, and I do sometimes use lard because I actually enjoy the flavor. I also use goose fat, so, and duck fat. It's French. I get French duck and goose fat. And I use those as well in different sort of meals and stuff like that. So they do have different flavors, and you can play around with these things. I mean, everybody sticks to tallow. God almighty, there's duck fat. There's all these different fats of different birds and all that. Talk about birds now. Yes, I know what T1 will be doing. I need my full range. You'll be out buying the whole full range just to annoy T2. Oh, God, now that is nasty. That is nasty. That is evil. You evil frog. Oh, God, I lost my space again. Damn. And we'll flow through these. God, time's going when you're having fun. Hit the button. Yes. Thanks, y'all. Hit that like button. Please share. Yeah. Some people really react badly. I avoid them basically. But if you want to play around with giving yourself a bit of a euphoric heat effect, and as long as you don't react badly, but do start very low, because some people can have anaphylactic shocks because they've got underlying genetics. So be mindful of that. And I'm not recommending it. So yes, I love my pork. Dad loves his pork as well. And, as a youngster, nearly every lunchtime, I used to have pork on a skewer. So that was our sort of souvlaki, the Greek style, not the pita bread, which is the gyro, as we call it, a rounded pita bread. So just got mistranslated when it got to other countries. Yeah, I know. But nobody can control them. Am I blushing? I must be. Hey, Harry, why do some people say if you are not in calorie surplus, fructose isn't harmful? Because they are idiots. Obviously, if you're not engaging the Randall cycle, it's going to be less problematic, but it's still glycating. It's still 7 times more glycating than sugar. So even if you're not engaging the Randall cycle, even if you're not causing insulin resistance because you're not exceeding your caloric threshold, and these cells have got enough time, there is the slowness of the resident time to get the energy, then it's probably, but at the same time, it's still glycating, 7 times more glycating. So, and some of it still does, because people never can achieve perfect balance with their calories throughout the day. Some of it will end up in the visceral fat. And so every study that I looked at, even when people are basically doing much cleaner diets with less junk food and stuff like whole foods, and they introduce fructose at high amounts, they get a problem. So yeah, we weren't meant to eat fructose all year round. Okay, it's not, our body doesn't require fructose. Simple as that. It'll convert it. Excess carbohydrates will be converted to fructose to be stored as fat, because you have to go first convert it to fructose, and it'll go from 3% to 30%, the maximum amount of glucose that we converted to fructose, and that 30%, then most of it will be converted through the pathway that alcohol is converted as well. It will be converted into triglycerides and then exported. And if not used because you're in a state of insulin resistance, it'll go directly to the adipose tissue. And if you don't have enough choline, and taurine plays a bit of a role, as a liver protective, but primarily choline. You don't have enough choline, you can't export sufficient fat. All foods, even vegetables, have some choline, but they don't have a lot like animal foods. The highest animal foods that have choline is organ meats and eggs. And some of the seafood. Most other foods in nature are very poor in choline. So we all get a bit of choline, but what happens is if you're eating a lot of carbohydrates, because you're getting very little choline to export the actual sort of fats out of the liver, you get all these fat droplets that build up. It's called fatty liver. And I've done a video on that. You can go and check it about, I call it a choline deficiency because you're not eating a species appropriate diet. The other thing is also choline is required for biosynthesis together with taurine and MK4. But without choline, can't produce enough bile. If you're not producing enough bile, what happens to you? Start producing gallstones. Yes, because you're not getting enough lubrication in there, and those cholesterols in there, stones start hardening up. But if you've got the sort of emulsifying breakdown effect of the bile, because you've got enough choline in your diet, then less of an issue. So now why I approach my diet in a very different way than many others in the carnivore community. But anyway, we won't go that. That's the politics of that side. Make your choice who you want to go with. Anyway, move on. So it is BS, basically. We only had seasonal, and when we got it seasonally, we fattened up for the winter months. And then we basically, burnt it off. And also, some of it we also produced far more uncoupled protein, mitochondria through the winter. And that's a biohack that I'll explain next time. And it will probably surprise some, and others they'll go, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, I don't think calorie surplus has anything to do with that. Fructose is always harmful. Yep, exactly. Glycating factors, and pretty much the body will turn it into fat. It doesn't really have much biological use for it. So there's very little that is required for certain functions, but they are very limited, and the body can actually produce that fructose that it needs from glucose, that 3%, so it doesn't need to ingest. So, which is like one of those enzymatic pathways of fructose 6-phosphate, but the reality is, and a few others, but the reality is the body does it very minimal, and it can do it from glucose. From gluconeogenesis, then produce 3% of that for other purposes. So, yeah, it's pretty much nonsense. It's crap, and it's not good for the body long term. So, yes, use your honey as topical if you get a scratch from a cat. Anyway. Yes, I know. Yeah, I know. It's past. I know. Fuck. Yeah, I know. I can't help myself. Yes. Did I? Do you take everything literally that I say? God almighty. You're welcome, mate. God almighty. Oh, we're nearly at the bottom. Oh, God, I missed my spot. Damn. I hate that. Oh, don't know where I am now. Lost it. Oh, lost it. Oops. G'day, mate. Good to see you. Yeah. Way overdue, I know. Oh, look, I know. It's all because of these two. Anyway, I'm out of here. God, I'm going. See you guys. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Take care. See you next week. And we'll have probably about, I can promise about 2 videos next week. That's about it. And I'll try and get on to more of the other stuff and all that I need to do. Well, that's a good thing to be late to your own funeral. Anyway, you'll still be talking. Yeah, probably. Shut that corpse up. Put a muzzle on that corpse. See you guys. I love yous all. Take care. Bye. See you next week.